What is up, everyone? Hbox here, and I want to make a video maybe on some hopium, but it should be worth talking about. Here's what it is. Nintendo just announced that there is another patch coming out for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I know this isn't one of those very clever April Fool's joke where we go inside and even make our own website with patch notes like we did. Gotcha, by the way. No. This is a real thing, but probably not for what you assume. If any of you have noticed, the in-game events have been on repeat for a bit now. These are the events that you see, like heroes versus villains, the different spirit events. You can basically find them when you go into the online and usually tourney mode section. They cater mainly to casual audiences. They might have items, they might have certain rule sets. Nothing really too competitive, but a lot of them celebrate various goals that Nintendo has set over the years, or celebrate certain series, so on and so forth. You'll notice that quite recently, the 5th anniversary of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has just passed. I know, when I heard it too, I couldn't believe time was moving that fast, and yet here we are, but we are on the 5th anniversary. For this anniversary, the team released a new in-game event that is live right now, where you get quintupled EXP, SP, and snacks. It's a lot of stuff that we don't care about at all, but I gotta remind you of one thing. The events like those can be done online without an update to the game, but they also announced that new spirits are coming to the game next month, which do require a patch. So they actually have to go inside and send out an update to all our Switches as we usually do. And this isn't like a server maintenance update like we've seen a few times this year. This is actually a new version patch. This likely coincides with the release of the Sora amiibo coming out on February 16th. Nintendo has not officially announced a new version number yet, but they usually don't do that until a week before the patch, as we've seen in the past. Now, in the past, there has been times where Nintendo will specifically say this will not include any balance change to fighters, which we haven't heard yet. But let's think about it. Let's put on our hopium copium hats for a second and think about it just for a second. If you're going to go through the trouble to change and upload game files, why would you not do any fighter changes? Even slight bug fixes like, you know, taking out Steve's PMLG.
Yo!
And then we're going to air dodge up. Then we put the Steve on the grill. 3, 2, 1. We're living, boys! We're living at 9-9! There still is some glitches in this game that we've seen. The dream scenario that we all want is, of course, news on something brand new. Of course, the dream would be Smash 6, or the dream would even be a Fighters Pass 3, but that would come with its own whole set of cacophony and everything else that is included when you try to once again update the meta of a game that has 80 plus characters. I get that, but I will say there is a slight chance this could be low-key a Christmas surprise. Now, y'all are saying, Hbox, you're so... why are you even going on this? Why would you even give any credence to the possibility of this happening? And the reason I say this is because people act like there is some end-all, be-all rule set about how devs go about updating their games, how Nintendo or Sakurai goes about updating their games. We understand as it is that Sora is the last character added to Smash Bros. Ultimate. I think adding any new characters in the future to this game, I put a lot of money down that will never happen. But they didn't quite say that is completely it for the balances of this game forever, right? Because over time, glitches still do get discovered. In fact, I'm pretty sure that even... I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was one of the Mario Karts, I believe. Nintendo sent out patch notes for a Mario Kart for a prior version on a glitch or something that prevented people from making mods. I think it was a game that was over a decade old. I gotta check what it is, but we've seen Nintendo patch games that have been out for years and years and years. A game that's 5 years old with its meta sort of set in stone, it really isn't out of the realm of possibility. So, with the floodgates now open, what should change about this game? Well, there's some very, very quick ones that come to mind. Steve is the hot topic, of course, that everyone wants change of. I think if they were to balance the game one last time, if I could truly have, these are the characters, and I can set one more set of balance notes, I would hit Steve the hardest, but I would do it responsibly. I think one of the biggest changes that Steve should have is actually his weight change. I think he should be a much lighter character. I think it should be easier to kill. That would be already a big thing as well. Just give him, you know, nothing near midweight. Give him like mid lightweight, maybe the same range as something like Fox to kill him. I think the idea of how often gold or diamond appears when he's mining should be a lot lower. I'm not saying like Peach RNG, but you have to imagine that diamond is like a really, really vital kill tool for his whole kit. So making those less frequently appear would be really, really good. And I do think minecart knockback and minecart in general, if that was nerfed, that would be really, really good. You can't just take away blocks from the character. I think that blocks are essentially a part of what makes Steve what he is. Like, if his values were properly adjusted, he would have been one of the coolest design characters in the game. Like, he breathes Minecraft, and any fan of the Minecraft series will absolutely love playing this character. It's you know, extremely creative what Sakurai and his team did to create that character. That can't be ignored. I just think they got the values completely all out of whack in terms of strength, in terms of weight, in terms of knockback, and in terms of frequency of getting certain materials. You fix that, I think you have a character that's much more realistically well placed into this meta. Or make blocks disappear a lot quicker, make blocks easier to break, that sort of thing. You can do a lot. You can change Steve's parameters in a lot of ways. But it won't change the fact that when he has materials as often, that much iron, that much diamond, that much gold, he can make anvils, which are way too strong. He can make minecarts that are way too strong, command grabs, recovery tools. He can make platforms for himself. He can make walls that basically give him a little house that you can't safely approach due to his very fast up smash, which has a huge range, where he can mine more materials. It becomes a snowball and makes him more powerful. If you create some way to break that loop of brokenness, which is created by that character, I think you have a pretty solid, really cool platform fighting character, even with all the, you know, jank that he has. Other changes I would make if we're, you know, again, we're putting on our copium hats and we're making this ourselves. Other big changes, if we go to the other side, would be Ganondorf. I think it's pretty cut and dry that Ganondorf is the worst character in the game. I think everyone pretty much agrees with it, to the point where some people recently have put him, I think Siski, in his own tier at the very, very bottom. No platform or fighting game should ever have a character by themselves at the very bottom in their own tier, unless it's a joke character, like Melee did with Pichu, and ironically, Bowser is still worse than that. But in this case, especially for a modern fighting game, a lot of people, apart from Steve, and I guess Ganondorf, have kind of praised how balanced Ultimate is as a fighting game. It's true. There are best characters and there are worse characters, but you know, apart from like the top little slice and the bottom little slice, the middle big chunk is relatively balanced. You'll never get it perfect, but compared to what we used to have with the previous like Brawl, compared to that, no, we have a lot more balance within the giant middle gap. Ganondorf, if I really had to help him out as a character, it's tricky because, you know, there's some things I know that Sakurai and his team will never touch. They'll never touch moves. You're not going to be like, oh, we patched out Ganondorf's wizard foot and gave him float now. You'll never see something like that. And in the case of like a recovery, you know, maybe they'll allow him to have a more distance on an up B or a side B. I really think if Ganondorf gets a better recovery or gets his recovery help, he becomes just a viable character. Not viable, but just like a character like along the tier of K. Rool or something, right? Think about K. Rool. He's a big dude with crazy little weird hitboxes, has armor. He's, you know, got a very linear recovery, but he has a recovery that makes him, you know, reach a very long distance with that propeller. Even though you can beat him up, he can beat you up. You know, to me, I like the design of K. Rool because he's a big body done in the right way. And Cinnamorough is another good example where, like, you know, obviously he's very easy to cheese off the stage, but you let him back on, you're in for a lot of trouble. And you think of Little Mac, right? I don't think Little Mac should be buffed. I mean, I'm biased and I hate fighting that character, but like weirdly enough, like, he really is a menace on the ground. And, you know, you kind of do need a character, an archetype that has like the quote unquote bad recovery, but is an absolute menace on the ground. It's cool having an archetype like that, and he's able to make big upsets against the entire cast if you play him properly. Shout out to Peanut. But Ganondorf, apart from like the representation of players like Major, it's just such a downward spiral play that character. So those are the first immediate changes I would make. Steve and Ganondorf, like, yeah, you could touch some of the fighter pass too. You could maybe touch Sonic if you wanted to. That depends how much attention they're paying to they're paying to the current meta. But I don't see characters that were already in vanilla game being touched. I don't see Sonic being touched. Aegis maybe, but I don't see like Sonic or Rob or anyone else like that being touched. Joker was already nerfed. But yeah, it really is just Steve and Dorf, and everything else might even just fit more nicely into the meta with good and bad characters. In terms of quality of life, other patches to the game they could make, the dream of having better online connection rollback is kind of out of the question there. You're not going to have Nintendo completely redo the ecosystem of a game's online just for a small little patch, and they'll make a much more big deal about it. That's something you'll see between just major title releases, like between Smash 5 and Smash 6, whatever Smash 6 is, if it comes out, that will be the one that probably has the better connection, because we've seen Nintendo games that do have much better online than Ultimate. In terms of other things as well, there's slight glitches too. Sometimes you will queue into Elite 1v1 and you'll end up in a free-for-all or a stamina match. It's one of the weirdest glitches I've seen. And other things too, like being booted out of arenas for no reason. Like, these are things that I think with proper care, they could go into the back end and figure out what's causing them and make just a nice, more seamless experience for everyone. In general though, Ultimate has been out for 5 years. People are used to it. There is an expectation of what the game can give us. And if you ask a bunch of people what the gripes are for the game, I think I made a thread about it for a while. A lot of it would be Fighters Pass 2 and balancing Steve and the other, top tiers. And then just, figuring out how to make the game just feel a little bit better, make the UX better, and make the overall general experience for a competitive platform fighter as seamless as the ones that were made by independent studios. I think Nintendo could definitely take a page out of the book for, studios like Game Mill or, even Warner or, Rivals. Those games do a lot of things right that Smash does wrong. But let me know what you think below, if this is full copium or not. Is there any chance at all that with this release of the Spirits and the Sora amiibo, they would change anything apart from just those little things in the game that isn't related to competitive or balance? Are we going to see some change, some bug fixes, some Steve fixes, or is this the game we're stuck with forever? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.